in search of the behind the chair millionaire best practices of stylists that really have it together. This is our third episode and the third Real McCoy. My guest tonight, Laurie Fudens from Sharmaines Salon and Day Spa. She's a Jedi, not only behind the chair, but she's a Jedi in how she manages that very, very, very important part of our life called the money side of our personal life, right? There's the salon side, the income side, and then it's what we do with the money. And I've got her on tonight to talk about it. She's one of us, she's a partner in Sharmaines, and she's as high as you can go in her brand. Back end of 40-something, front end of 50-something, has plenty of life and shelf life. Looks like she's getting young down. I think that's what prosperity does to it. It rather than grows us old, it youngs us down. And when you look at all the summit metrics, she's hitting them on the bullseye. We're talking triple digit average service ticket, $1,200 average days, a referral rainmaker, 90 plus rebook, 20 plus RTS. So the metrics are there, but what really, makes her, why she's here tonight, we've had plenty of conversations about Jedis behind the chair, but we have this new way, this new consciousness, this new process, this new map that we're calling four rule mindset, 4-rule millionaire mindset. Whether you're over the hump and the finish line or you're on your way, you start managing your money life in these 4 rules, you will move towards high 6-figure net worth. My savings plus my equity in my home minus all my debt, that's what I'm worth. You will start moving to the speed of light to 100, 200, 300, 400, 500,000 in net worth, and sooner or later you cross over to the promised land, 6 figures. Later comes sooner than you think, because every week I'm bringing a guest on to show you that I'm not making this up, that this is the for real deal. And the rules are, give yourself a raise. We've been talking about that forever, that once you're on this plan, you are motivated to get very serious and focused behind the chair. 2, pay yourself first, which is Michael Cole speak for. Save your money first. First, save. And then spend or live on the rest. And as you're paying yourself first, pay down your debt. So you never wait to pay off your debt before you save. You never wait until you hit your savings goal before you pay off your debt. You do them both at the same time. Well, I can't afford it. Then reread rule number 1. And then the 4th rule for the mindset is you always, 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 it's like the 11th commandment, thou shalt spend less than I make. Why? Well, because if you spend less than you make, you have fuel to pay yourself and to nuke your debt. So that's basically why I have Laurie on tonight. She's going to, first of all, catch us up to her life. I always like to hear the story. And when we tell the story, it gives us vision that she's one of us. And then I'm going to get her talking about the 4 rules. So she's in my green room now. We'll unmute everything and see where there she is. I'm going to unmute her, and you guys are going to make her feel welcome.
Hey, Michael.
How are you?
Great. Glad to be here with you.
Oh, thank you for coming on. You look great. You look fabulous.
Thanks. I got to put on lipstick today. Usually I have days with no lipstick on, right?
Yeah. Well, for starters, we always love to hear the story, because the story tells us all that you're one of our community and your story is amazing. So for starters, who are you and what got you on and into the business first? And then we'll kind of go from there when you started making these pivots that have gotten you to the place that you're at now. So tell us about who you are.
Yeah, well, I've been doing hair for about 30 years now, and it's weird to even say it, and anybody who's been doing hair for that long will feel the same way. But I started off and I went to hair school in London, England. I lived there for a little while, a couple of years, and I went to L'Oreal's hair coloring school there. And I stayed, honestly, as long as I could. And then I came back to my home in Florida. and ended up at my very first, I was a commission employee in my salon where I worked for a long time, about 7 years there. And I was, on the growth train. I was like doing the color thing and learning as I go. I didn't really have a leadership situation, and I was the only colorist in the salon where I worked. So I learned, school of hard knocks and failed forward a lot and with very little direction, which is why I started picking all of the classes that would come to Florida. And as a young stylist, I was making money and it was going okay. And I have to say, I kind of got stuck in a bad rut, and I loved doing hair, but I couldn't keep my money. I actually ended up in, it's almost like, it used to be so embarrassing to say this, but now I'm proud about it. But I was $32,000 in debt at 27 years old. Mm. And that was hard. That was rough. Mm-hmm. And it was the wake up moment that I needed. But looking back, it was probably one of the hardest times in my life. I had to change my job. I had to change some things and wake up and do some things. But I went to your first boot camp, and I think it was in Orlando. And I was in the audience and heard you say to everybody, there were probably a couple hundred people in the room, and maybe there's some people on your call tonight that were, even familiar with your very first boot camp days. And I remember listening to every word you said, and it hit me like a lightning bolt. And I knew that I had to learn how to keep my money and pay down my debt, because I was getting worse as I went. And I knew something had to change, Wow. But that's how I started in this industry. And that was the first part of my career.
I love it. And the story is, and that part where, we get on ramped, we make some money, but because we're not as experienced in money as we are in doing hair, all of a sudden in our mid-20s, we're in the barrel. And we call that, whatever you want to call it, crisis, stress, whatever. But crisis makes us great students, and it sounds like it was there that was a definable moment. Somewhere in there, you and I meet in a Holiday Inn. It was either Clearwater Beach or Tampa, because I remember that night. And and this was, we're talking either back end of 80s, front end of 90s, and that was your pivot. Or somewhere after that, you pivoted and said, enough. I call it now, embrace the 4 rules. But back then we weren't calling it stuff like millionaire. We were just calling it manage your money, build a little security, and here you are today.
Well, you told me something interesting on that class. I'll never forget it. You said, if you save your tip money and you actually save it and you keep it, and then you let it gain a certain amount of percentage of interest, and I don't even know if you said the percent, that it would be, $1 million when you were 50 years old. You said that when I was in my 20s.
I did. The $5 a day baby step savings plan. You heard it in your 20s. Fast forward, back end of 40, front end of 50, and you're going, he wasn't lying. So all of a sudden, and you know what? Thanks for reminding me, because I did call it a $5 a day baby step savings plan, but we said that if you stay diligent, the last number on that little scale was $1 million, and people thought I was playing with their mind, and you took it to heart and said, this is where I pivot.
Yeah, totally. Now, everything wasn't roses. There were years I saved, and there were years I didn't save.
Yes.
And there were I should have saved, and probably, learned the hard way how to climb back in that road.
Right. So do you remember, I'm in the game 5-6 years kind of, and I get myself in a little trouble, and all of a sudden I hear something, I pivot. What was that, in the mid-20s, back end of the 20s, 30-something, where you started building some momentum?
Late 20s is when I really woke up. I knew that I had to change the amount of money I was spending on myself and on other people and on things. And I knew also I needed to change the people I was hanging out with, because the people I was hanging out with and the conversations I was having weren't aiding in my long-term survival. And I had to learn that the hard way.
Right.
And I had to find a new group, find new friends, and change what I was thinking, you know?
Yeah, you could, you're gonna be in my book, but I'm gonna put you under the New Testament, right? Because I remember having conversations with you where we were saying, you have lifelong, prosperous, career-minded, growth-oriented besties. You haven't met them yet, and it's like, what? But here you are, and you say 30 years, I just say you're on the back end of your third decade, but you have so much more to show for it than the average person that hasn't pivoted yet after 3 decades. So kudos to you. Now, there was another point that you made. You said, okay, so I'm saving, but you started doing different things with your investments other than, a 401 this and an IRA that. You got involved in.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I was very fortunate to have people around me, and I started having new conversations that I never had before. In my early 40s, I started having conversations about real estate, and I didn't ever really know about real estate. I owned a home, had one home, never thought about owning other stuff like that. Yes, being a partner in a business, and that was great. But the idea of actually owning real estate and then putting money there and having it multiply over time was a theory at the time.
Yes.
And the people that I surrounded myself with gave me great advice. And as the years have gone on, in the past 10 years, I have continued to find new and great leaders that have helped me make really great choices. And it really was changing the conversation that I was having with people.
And I love your timeline, because it's once I was engaged in the basics, I'm now on the front end of 40 something, and I see a new possibility, but I have the intelligence, the financial wisdom, I have some liquidity to really, invest in that. So that sounds like in 40 something, you make one, I don't even want to call it a pivot as much as you augment your plan with something. And then the last 10 has really been a lucrative 10 years for you. So
yeah, I paid off my debt by the time I was about 38. And it took me about 10 years to pay off all that debt. And I was buried in credit card debt. And I was also audited by the IRS 3 years in a row. It was devastating. And I didn't know how to handle it. And it was tough. And people, they might look at me now and think, oh, whatever. But I've been at a bad financial place,
Right.
And I coach, stylists in my salon. And if someone asks me for advice, I'll help them. Yes. I try not to give advice unless it's asked for. It's hard for me, and I've had to work on that. But,
right.
If someone asks me for advice, I'll tell them, and I'll even point them the kind of stuff that worked for me. But at this stage in my life, like being in this age and being able to do what I want to do, right, and create the things I want to create. And I'm certainly not done yet. I have even bigger goals, right?
Yes.
But I'm very fortunate that I had these conversations, and I had that mindset change at 27-ish. And then I was able to carry it through into my 30s, pay off my debt in my 40s.
It kind of evolves. You and I were chatting the other day, and people that are kind of on this path, they'll go, I was on it, and because somebody told me it was good. In this case, you were on the receiving end of a little bit of my teaching along with others, but you're on it at first, and you, at least your experience, my experience, our experience, we're on it, but we're not really too sure. And then all of a sudden the day happens where we start enjoying a return on our, whatever you want to call that, savings, investment, long-term properties, 401s, and you go, whoa, I know I put in this much, but when I look at what it's worth this much. And the overwhelming majority of this is the money that grew on the money that I put in. It's almost like our money is saying, thank you, allow us to return the favor of working as hard for you as you've been working for us. And what would you say to something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I didn't expect it as much as it when it came, but here's the thing, like saving money is not easy. And the subject of money for some people is very difficult. And there's a lot of emotion around it. And I know that, but I look at money like it's like flexing a muscle. Okay. You have to keep doing it. Whatever it is, you got to keep doing. And that's what makes it stronger. Right.
Yes.
And then with the real estate that I invested in, it became passive income. So now what I've invested in I thought passive income was money that passed you by. I didn't even know what the definition of passive income was at one time. I was like, it just passes you by.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what it is.
Right.
I figured this out now, because when you have passive income and money that comes in monthly from investments, that you truly reach something. And I could have done that as a stylist only, even if I wasn't an owner. And I do want to say this to any of the hairstylists out there, because I'm a part salon owner as well. And I'm really a driven person. I'm a direct and driven person, and I like goals and all that. But I always worked behind the chair as a stylist. Yeah. So anybody could do this. Yes. And following, the rebook, retail, referral, magic formulas, all these years, I have drilled it right. with millions of classes that I've gone to. Yeah. And that's what really created it.
Yeah, I had the same conversation yesterday. We did a interview similar. Somebody got, like, your story is very, very similar. And she said that there was something about when I adopted the 4 rules. You always get from training, serve the client and make them, and and because it's professional and it's a good thing to do and we love what we do, but there's something about yes, and I want to use this livelihood to create a beautiful future that really shows that I have something to show for. In your case, I got 30 years into this run, and I'm very, very grateful of what this has turned into. But it was because in your mid-20s you pivoted. Had you not pivoted, we know, there's many, many people that get to 50-something, 60-something. They were probably sitting next to you in the Holiday Inn in Clearwater Beach in 1989, but unlike you, they didn't pivot.
Yeah, and Michael, I don't do this alone. I have a great team at home, and I have a great partner, and we have an amazing. We use all the resources we have. I'm also a Redken artist, and I've learned from my team leaders there how to facilitate and teach others. Everything that I get from the resources that I have, I really am a giver, and I really like to give back. And that's the thing, is it is a two-way road, but the amount that you give, it's just, if you concentrate on giving and helping others, it does come back. And that's the thing is, maybe some of it was luck, but I have a great team back home, and I have great people around me now.
That idea that, gee, was it luck or not? It's like asking a professional athlete, gee, did you get lucky when you shot that or did this? And the answer is always, well, probably, but you know what? The more I practice, the harder I work, the luckier I get. So right. There's no, there's an intentionality, as you said. There's many, many days and weeks where I don't feel like, whether it's staying consistent on saving and investment, staying consistent in paying down my debt, staying consistent in showing up on my game, upselling, rebooking, even though, I'm not in the mood or I'm tired, that it's like, no, there's something bigger here, and I don't need to feel like taking these actions to take them. Boy, I'll tell you what, that separates the happy hopers from the real McCoys.
Yeah, the truth is that success, the difference between success and failure is in a tiny increments. It's the little things that you do all the time with consistency, and you'll hear about that from, probably, my guess is, many people that you might interview here through this time, or for however long you do this. You're going to hear that. The mindset and the consistency, but it is true. It's in the little things, the smaller habits.
You're blowing up my my dashboard. Gloria is saying, another great speaker on money making, money building. Let's rock these 4 rules. So it sounds like you're baptizing some believers. My friend Grace is saying, intentionally doing the right things consistently. That's the payoff. And now when you show up, you have, you've got a what do we call it? Kind of a lineage. Like you've had associates and they're on the floor, and that now, in addition to teaching them how to earn a great living, you can teach them how to design an extraordinary life by adopting these principles. I know you're doing that now, and you'll continue to offer that wisdom.
Yeah, and I love coaching other people. I love helping stylists that, in my classes, any salon owners that I do Redken classes locally here in Florida, even now, because we just started back to live learning, but it is part of probably the rest of most of my life.
So let me do a shameless plug for you. So you're still, in addition, one of the hats you wear is as a Redken educator, where whether it's in salon or digital, that people can bring you in on Redken content. But I'm sure that if they're nice to you, that you'll bring a little gift with purchase call. I'd be more than happy to pass on any of this conversation to whether it's salon owners or people in the salon, because I think this is the nitroglycerin that you're pouring on a Redken bonfire.
Yeah, and the truth is, after this year, it's been hard to see so much pain and so many salon owners and stylists suffering. It's hard to see that, and I hope that so many people will step up when they have the tools to help hairstylists, so that our industry does not end up in shambles, because this has been tough for a lot of people.
Right. So it's something that kind of speaks to your calling, your soul. Well, listen, we're out of time, but I want you to promise me that as we continue to build this newer community called, those with the vision and a dream to become, whether you want to call it millionaire, 7-figure net worth behind the chair, that this would be the place to have the conversation. Promise me you'll come back on a regular basis to do some encores to continue to give people vision and hope that not only is this possible, it's probable if you stay in the conversation.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Thank you.
All right.
Totally.
So you and I will, I'm sure, be chatting shortly. I'll call you. We'll have the conversation after the conversation, and I'm going to let you get back to your fam. Thank you very much, Laurie.
Thanks so much, Michael. I love you. You're amazing.
I love you too. Say hi to my homies at Sharmaines.
Yes.
All right, we're going to give Laurie one more round of applause. Laurie Fudens. Stay well. Wow. Give it up for her one more time. I want to spend just a couple minutes with you, and really, just in case you missed it, what the conversation was about was this. This is the new map. This is the new dollar icon that's got the craft all over it. This is what you do behind the chair. This is how you earn a living. These are the 4 rules, the 4 gems. You give yourself a raise. That's the first OMG aha you have to have. That you, behind the chair, have more control and influence on your income than you could possibly fathom, especially today. And I've been training, hairdressers. I've been a hairdresser all of my adult life, but I've been a business educator, and I watch it. I probably have seen it tens of thousands of times, that definable moment when somebody wakes up and says, wow, I have more control on how much I make behind the chair than I thought. I thought it was a function of, are we having a busy month? Did we do a promotion? Did we, is there enough people working here to have a lot? Do we have a location? So, I'm not putting any of that down. I'm saying yes, but it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is you have much, much greater control on how much you make. You can give yourself a raise. You can put your hands on the dials and knob of your income and turn it up. I can raise my average ticket. That's what I mean by give yourself a raise. I can raise my referral rate. I can raise my retail. I can raise my rebook. I can raise the frequency, how many times a year somebody comes in to see me. That's what this is. You do that. It depends on you. The more you depend on you to do this, the less you depend on anybody else. The more independent you become of other people, and the less dependent you become on other people. If you depend too much on people, you're going to be angry a lot. The people are going to let you down. So this says, I'm going to take charge of that. That's called empowered. 2, you pay yourself first. You save your money first, and then you figure out how to live on what's left. Laurie was one of those people, probably 20% of what she brings in, she saves, she puts away. And you can't do 20 right away. Maybe it might start at a few dollars a paycheck, a few dollars a week, a few dollars every other week. But as you get better, you'll work yourself up. I think 20% is an ultimate goal. There are times where you'll be able to put in more, but you pay yourself first. That's what I mean. Saving, anytime you're saving money, you are paying you. Then you start at the same time, pay off your debt. Stop asking questions like, should I be paying my debt off before I save money? No, you don't get it. You need to, like Randy Kunkel would say, you need to listen very hard. You pay down your debt and you save money at the same time. Well, Michael, I don't make enough to do that. Then you need to go back and reread rule number 1. Give yourself a damn raise. Get a summit coach. This is what summit coaches do. They'll show you, and you can do it online now. There's all kinds of courses. We've never lived in an era that we're in now to raise our income. So get on that. And then last but not least, you spend less than you make. You have to. You can't get to the land of milk and honey. This is called broke as a joke. To the land of milk and honey. You cannot get there if you do not spend less than you make. Because you have to have money left over to save and to pay down your debt. So I could go on and on and on and on about this, and I will. I will continue week after week bringing people to the forefront. I will stay in search of, and some of these people haven't crossed the finish line yet. Last week I did an interview where somebody at 33 years old was about 20-25% there. So I think her net worth, by the time you added up her savings and some equity in her home, about $250,000. But she started her plan 5-6 years ago. That's a hell of a lot of progress in 5 or 6 years. And no, wait, there's more. She's saying that if she stays on the trajectory, she's got a financial planner now, she'll cross that Rubicon, the millionaire Rubicon, by 51. She's 33 now. She's on the back end of her first decade. Do the math, my friend. She's got another, and then she says, I'm so excited that I don't want to wait to 51. I'm going to turn up, giving myself a raise. I'm going to turn up paying myself first. I'm going to turn down my debt because I want to see if I can get there at 40-something. I got to bet with her that she's going to probably cross the $1 million finish line. I call it the land of milk and honey. The promised land, somewhere between 45 and 50. Stay tuned. You could see Laurie and I go way back to the early 90s. Laurie said it was her sitting in one of my seminars that motivated her, woke her up, and got her to pivot from, I owe, so off to work I go. I'm spending money, mad money. You only go around once. You only live once. You're right, and you shop till you drop, party till you puke. And she said, I heard it. I was $36,000 in debt at 26 years old, and I said, enough. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And she pivoted, and the rest is history. So, great night tonight, you guys. A great night tonight. I want to give it up for Laurie one more time. This conversation is powered by L'Oreal Professional Products Salon Emotion. So I'm innovating this content to fall under. So if you carry their brands, thank you. If you don't carry their brands, consider it, because all of this is brought to you. This is like almost like public TV. It's brought to you compliments of L'Oreal. They are the power behind the conversations I'm having with the Lauries of the world. So please support their brand. Been a great evening. We're running over. I'm going to let you get back to your work. I love you all, and we will pick up next week where we left off. I got a wonderful program coming for salon owners on how to pay yourself first. And I'm not going to give it away, but we're about a week away from that one on Millionaire Salon Owner Stylist. So stay tuned. So God bless. I love you all. Stay well. Ciao.